Hey Power Fam, I thought I would do this video just because it comes up so much on our channel and it's kind of what our channel is based on is we are called the Little Power Family, and we are called that because I suffer from multiple chronic illnesses, and every day we power through. Despite that, we are powering through chronic illness one day at a time and trying to have fun and not letting it take over our lives. So what I thought I would do is make a one-off video just called "What's Wrong with Mummy?" and then if it comes up in any of the vlogs, people can come back to this video and they can what's this? They can go through, they can watch it and they will know exactly what's going on with Mummy. We will start from the beginning. Right from when I can remember, I have been tagged as being an anxious person. I used to describe it as my body was having a panic attack. I'd be sat doing normal things, like I'd be at work answering emails, or I'd be sat watching TV and my heart would just suddenly begin to race and I'd feel really shaky. I'd always got the shake. I was in a lot of pain all the time. I used to sprain my wrists and my ankles all the time. There appeared to be no reason for it. I was just seen as clumsy and a hypochondriac. For years I was put on different antidepressants and sent to therapy and the local mental health hospital, all different things, and none of it was working because I wasn't anxious. There was something medically wrong with me. But the more I got told I had an anxiety condition, the more I became anxious myself, if that makes sense. So I developed an anxiety disorder because I got told so long that was what was wrong with me. So I must be anxious, therefore I started to react to things in an anxious way. Then I had my children, I had my daughter Emily, and I got sicker. I started to feel sicker about a year before I had her, but once I had her, I felt sicker. Then I had my son, and I got really sick. When I had him, I caught some sort of virus in the hospital, and I was quarantined for 5 days. I still don't know what that virus was, but when I got home after that, I felt my heart had become slower. Yet when I stood up, it was racing. It made no sense whatsoever. So for years this carried on. I kept getting more attacks where I'd wake up at 2 AM with my heart rate booming up at 180, and I just didn't know what was going on. Then finally one night I woke up, it was 2 AM, I literally laid down like this and just sat bolt upright like this with my heart buzzing out of my chest. I managed to crawl downstairs, called for an ambulance, and they said they got me in AFib. My heart was going crazy. I was in SVT. He had got me at 186 beats per minute and it had come down from there. So I don't know what it was when I woke up. But anyway, this landed me in resource where they were giving me IV fluids and magnesium and potassium and all that sort of stuff. And I ended up on a cardiac ward for 5 days. I had noticed my heart speeding up when I stood up before, and I had been Googling it and I found something called POTS. So I mentioned it to the cardiac people, and from then on it was lie down, sit up, oh that's weird, lie down, stand up, oh that's weird, and just every doctor that came in would do that. And eventually they said, yes, I think we are looking at POTS. So I was then referred to the National Hospital of Neurology and Neuroscience in London, who have an autonomic unit. They specialise in POTS and dysautonomia. So I was sent for 3 days worth of tests where I had 24-hour blood pressure monitors, I had table tilt tests, I had one done after a meal, I had exercise tests, all different stuff to test, grip tests, everything to test my autonomic system, how I deal with cold, all sorts of stuff. And from there, they noted that I did have the 30 beats per minute increase when I was tilted upright, especially after eating. It got a lot worse. And after my exercise test, they noticed massive blood pooling in my legs to the point where I looked like a red Dalmatian. I just had blotches all over and down my legs. So POTS was diagnosed in August 2015, I think. Finally, so that finally made sense. I wasn't anxious, or I was because I had learned anxiety, but it wasn't the reason for all these symptoms. And then they said to me they believed the blood pooling was caused by something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where, in a nutshell, my collagen is weak in my body. I have loose joints. I'm not as bendy as others with EDS. My bendiness is more on the inside, so I do have slightly bendy fingers and things. I mean, I'm not going to do all the tricks. My wrists sprain a lot. I tend to sublux. I don't dislocate. Thank goodness I don't, because I know there's lots of people who have it a lot worse than I do. But mine's on my insides. My vessels are stretchy. I have problems with my digestion, and they said basically the blood pooling in my legs is what is causing the POTS, they think. So I stand up, all my blood drains down to my feet, my body thinks what's going on, starts my heart beating faster and faster to try and get that blood pumping round it. But whilst all this blood pooling is happening, I get pre-syncope symptoms, so my vision fades, I feel really dizzy, I get ringing in my ears, I start getting skip beats and palpitations when I stand still, all stuff like that. I do have poor collagen. When I had both of my children, especially after I had Charlie, my abdominal muscles completely separated. Now, usually you can have physio and these will knit back together, or they will knit back together on their own. That's what they're designed to do. In my case, because I have poor collagen, or poor elasticity in my collagen, they just would not knit back together. They were done. Basically, my stomach was herniating and it was causing me problems when I ate. It was really painful. My stomach would bloat out really bad. My umbilicus or belly button was totally doming out, and my intestines were trying to escape basically. So I've got some pictures of this. If you're grossed out, look away. So here we go. If you can see that, you can see my belly button completely herniating there. That's what my stomach looked like. And then if you look from the side, you can see it all herniating outwards. So that was massively, massively painful, and it was horrible. And I went to the NHS and they basically said to me, what do you expect? You've had a baby. And that was it. They said it was a cosmetic procedure and they weren't willing to fix it. It wasn't a cosmetic procedure. I was in pain. I was struggling to eat. It was horrible. I ended up going to see a plastic surgeon and asking them about a tummy tuck, or also known as an abdominoplasty. And they said I was a candidate, but because I didn't have excess skin, because I wasn't overweight, I would have a high scar. That didn't bother me. I wasn't doing it for cosmetic reasons. So the scar, it didn't bother me. I just wanted it fixing. So, where are we? 2014, I went and had a tummy tuck. They went in, they cut me from hip to hip and sewed my abdominal muscles up from the bottom right up to there where it meets your breastbone. So I can show you if I... this is my scar. I mean, it's 3 years, so it's not gross or anything like that. So if I stand up there, that is my giant scar. And I've got a new belly button. They had to resite my belly button. But as you can see, there is no more bloating. It's all fixed. But I had to go through an abdominoplasty to get that, and it takes a lot of recovery from. You can't walk upright for about 6 weeks, bent over double like a little old lady. It was brutal. It was brutal, I'm not going to lie. Also, just as a side note, when I went, the surgeon said to me, it's X amount of money for a tummy tuck. If you wanted to throw in some new boobs, it will only cost this much more. And when we looked at paying the loan back, it was actually cheaper to take that out. So I thought, when in Rome. So these aren't mine either. But, you know, I thought, seeing as I'm going to have a great shark bite across my stomach, I might as well have lovely boobs to look at. So, yeah, I chucked them in as well. Where was I? So, yes, that was a result of my Ehlers-Danlos. So I got all that done and got that fixed. So that's the Ehlers-Danlos side. I sprain my wrists a lot. You've probably seen me wearing wrist splints in some of the videos. I have weak ankles as well. My ankles will go. I've got flat feet. What else? I've got mild scoliosis in my back, and I have massive problems with my neck as well, which we're trying to sort out. I've just had an MRI scan on that. What else? Head. I have a right temporal lobe cyst called a neuroglial cyst, which I think is in here somewhere around here, and that causes me to have slightly decreased vision in this eye, and I've got slight hearing loss in this ear. Also, I'm not sure if it's due to the cyst or not, but I also suffer from something called hemiplegic migraines, which means when I get a migraine, one side of my body, depending on which side the migraine is, goes completely numb. I can't like register that this is my hand. It will tingle. I can't feel it. I can't speak properly. I lose my speech. And I see all the usual floaters as well. That's usually how it starts. Okay, so now I will cover POTS. POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. It is characterised or diagnosed by having an increase of 30 beats a minute or more when you stand up or within 10 minutes of being stood up. But it isn't just that, it affects everything. Because it is dysautonomia or dysautonomia, I'm not too sure how you pronounce it. It affects basically every system where your body shouldn't have to think about it. Things like heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, digestion, temperature regulation, all things like that are completely wacko on me. So, for example, if I drink a cup of coffee, decaf because of the POTS, I will sweat uncontrollably for like 20 minutes afterwards. If I go and get like a frozen sausage out of the freezer, by the time I've got that onto the side, I have like cold burnt my hand. In the winter and things like that, if I'm sat in the house, I'll have purple toes and purple fingernails because I get something called Raynaud's. And basically, if I get cold, I can't warm myself back up again. So I also sometimes get into pre-hypothermia because of it as well. My body temperature will drop down to like 35. So I have to physically warm my hands and feet up. I have to physically put them into warm water, things like that, to make them warm, and then put socks and slippers and everything on to keep them warm. I get air hunger, where my body forgets how to breathe, basically, and I struggle getting my breath. This happens nearly every night when I'm going to sleep, which is a pain in the butt. I will get blood pressure drops, where all of a sudden my blood pressure will just decide to take a nosedive. At that point I can get palpitations and things like that, as my body is trying to keep me conscious, trying to keep the blood pumping round. So they are scary, and for a long time, every time that happened, I would end up in A&E because it would terrify me. I'm getting better at that. I do get a couple of palps a day now, especially when I'm walking around my kitchen and then I stop still to maybe wash a pot or make a sandwich. Things like that, I will get sudden drop feelings, like I can feel it here, and like, ooh, like that. I can feel those. Still terrifying, but I'm trying to ignore them. I am trying to power on. What else? So there's temporary regulation. Yeah, obviously my heart, that pounds when I'm stood up. Doesn't like me ironing. I don't like me ironing though. It seems to go quite high when I'm ironing. On your average day, if I'm walking around running errands and things like that, I'm probably hitting 120, 130 just walking about. My resting heart rate's about 55, so you can see the jump difference in that. Now, I don't know if it's gonna do this on the screen. So you can see that. Now if I stand up, you can see there, it shot up 30 beats. I don't like it. The longer I stand up, the higher it will get. So I'm not going to do that. I will insert a video of it doing it a lot higher. that's POTS in a nutshell. So if you see me out of breath or anything like that, it's because my body's running a marathon on the inside. Who needs cardio when you've got POTS, eh? So that's we'll link on to the next thing, which would be digestion. I've lost a lot of weight since I got bad with my POTS. I'm now down to 7 stone 13, which I'm not sure what that is in pounds for you lovely American people. Let me see. 7 stone 13 in pounds. That is 111 pounds I am at the moment. I'm 5'3", so that puts me just under weight if you go on the BMI thing. The problem I have with digestion is kind of twofold. One is when you have dysautonomia, a lot of the time you get something called mast cell activation syndrome, where your body starts producing, now let me get this right, I might get this wrong, your body starts producing histamine and you start having allergic reactions to food that you are not allergic to. I have had tests run. I am not allergic to the foods that I react to yet. If I eat a potato or some mashed potato or anything like that, my heart rate within minutes of eating it, sometimes during eating it, will skyrocket and I will chuck out ectopic beats massively. My blood sugar gets quite low, and I basically, it happens with a lot of different things. It can happen with aubergines, things with high starch content in, certain chocolates, certain like things with soya, lectin in it, so I have to be very, very careful with what I eat, because I just tend to, what did I try the other day? Like a dried fruit energy bar, those vegan dried fruit things. Had one of them, skyrocket, ectopics, boom. Don't know why. I have been tested. I'm not allergic. All they can work out is I'm having issues with my mast cells because of the dysautonomia. So the second thing is sometimes it doesn't matter what I eat, I will go into a reaction. And the only way I have found to stop this is I have to eat in a reclined position with my feet up so that my blood doesn't pool. There is a theory with POTS that when you start digesting food, your blood all pools to your abdomen to get ready for digestion. Because I've got POTS, I have low blood volume and I have all stretchy veins and everything like that as well. My blood pressure drops too much and I get POTS symptoms. So I've also looked into something called rapid gastric emptying, because I seem to get my symptoms during eating, and it seems like sometimes the food in my stomach leaves my stomach pretty quickly and enters into my small intestine, therefore my bloodstream, and I start getting symptoms. No, I do not drink anything for half an hour before I eat and for 20 minutes after I eat. Then I can drink something, because the fluids make the passage of food faster. So I also eat in a reclined position, so I'll be laid back like this and I will put my feet up like this, and this is going to stop blood pooling. It's a pain in the butt. I don't eat when I'm out because I don't know, one, what I'm going to react to, and two, if I can get into a reclined position where I can eat carefully and in a way that I need to. So I tend to not eat, which I know is bad, but when you've got 2 kids to run around after and you've already got all these health things going on, just eating, it takes a back seat because it is such a problem for me. Eating is a massive problem for me. So I tend just to not. And I live off a very limited amount of foods because I know I don't react to them. That's why you probably see me eating chocolate a lot, like Whisper bars, dairy milk, twirls, because I know I can eat them. They don't have any of that soya in it and I know I can eat them, so I end up just keeping them on me and snacking on them. Sometimes I can have 3 of them a day, which I know is no good for you because it's your blood sugar and all that sort of stuff. I also live on like sweet potatoes and lots of veggies that I don't react to. I'm slowly trying to reintroduce foods, but again, that's another thing of trying to power through. It's trying to have the bravery to try that food and see if I react to it, because it's not nice when I react to it. It's your heart, it's the thing that keeps you going, it's your ticker. So when that starts going into an abnormal rhythm or starts playing up or going really fast, It's terrifying, and it's really hard to get past that fear and just go for it and try it. So I'm trying to power through, and I have added a lot more vegetables to my diet. I'm really trying. I actually want to try and go plant-based eventually. That is the plan, because apparently that is one of the best diets to be on if you do have chronic illnesses. It helps heal you from within. I do believe that food is your medicine and medicine is your food. I do believe it starts from inside. So that's something I'm working on. It may be a new word of the month next month. Sleep is another massive issue for me. If you've been watching our vlogs, you will know I'm trying to do a sleep reset. It is not going well. I've been trying to do it. It is making no difference to the amount of time I am asleep. It has made a difference to me being able to fall asleep. I can now just get into bed, turn the light off and go to sleep. That's massive, because it used to take me ages. I used to have to have a TV on or anything playing, just something. But now I can get into bed, shut my eyes and go to sleep. So that's a massive win for me, but I'm still probably awake for half of the time I'm in bed. It's still around the 4-hour mark that I'm sleeping, which is no good. It's no good for me. It's no good for this. No good. So yes, what is wrong with mummy? Basically, in a nutshell, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, joint hypermobility type. I'm not sure if I've been recategorized for that, because it has changed. I may just be on the joint hypermobility spectrum now, but for the time being, Ehlers-Danlos type 3. I also have postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, also known as POTS. I also have mast cell activation syndrome, where I react to foods that I am not really allergic to. Possible rapid gastric emptying. I also have a neuroglial cyst in my right temporal lobe. I have activity on my EEG, which shows some sort of seizure activity but not epilepsy, so I'm still waiting to find out about that. And I also have hemiplegic migraines. Lucky number 7. So that is it. If anybody wants to know any more about any of my conditions, ask away. Just ask in the comments below, and I will try to answer them for you. So let's resume normal activity. Get back to watching the Little Power Family as we power through chronic illness one day at a time. See you later, guys.